Hey everybody, Texas Trucker here, Alliance's Performance Shop, Mopars.com. KC Tool Haul, I believe 125 is what it'll be. We took a look at this gem. Something that's been on my bucket list for a long time. Essentially, we held off waiting for a deal. Finally caved and picked it up on Black Friday, and I went ahead and made a standalone so we wouldn't have like an hour-and-a-half video or something crazy. And, I try to think ahead from time to time. But another thing that I did on Black Friday was just go ahead and kind of check something else off the list. And if I come in and set this down, this is from Hazet. It's the 916 HPS. S is going to be their quick release. That's in pretty good shape, right? And you can see if you look at the anvil, it's been used a good chunk of time. But the real workhorse here, the real hero, is this one. It's the Hazet 916 HP. Essentially the exact same thing there, minus the quick release. This was the original release. I believe it won the Eisen Award or something like back in 2017-18 released. This thing is awesome. It is the world's, as far as I know, nothing's changed, strongest half-inch drive ratchet. It's 90 tooth. It's like the perfect starter length for half-inch drive, right? Sure, you can go a lot longer. They offer an extended version. They offer an adjustable version. They offer compact version, you name it. But this is where it all started for me. I remember German Tool Reviews video on it. It is a sweet half-inch drive ratchet. That's kind of where we got a big start with Hazet. So, you're thinking, hey, where does all of this go? Well, we're gonna throw this down right here. And you're thinking like, all right, what's that? Looks like a socket, presumably, you know, Segway tie-in, half-inch, yep. And this is actually an even better tie-in with half-inch drive because it's half-inch. You're thinking like, no, like what's the work side here, right? What fasteners are we gonna fit? It's half-inch, literally. If I come down here, you can see it's Hazet 900 AZ, and it's half-inch, and you're thinking like, what is AZ? Well, in Hazet, it's like American dimensions, okay? It is a beautiful socket. It follows the same sort of like, when you first get into it, it's odd, you know, right? You've kind of got like nickel, and then you get into chrome, and you're like, that's, why? Why is it not uniform? It grew on me over time. The sockets do the same thing. Down here on your anvil side, it follows the handle of your ratchet. It's sort of the nickel plated. Up here, it is chrome plated. Right here, you've got a very important feature, and it is T-ribs. The reason that's important is it fits my hands perfectly. This is one of those things, like, I don't want to spend a ton of time here, but kind of jumping into German tools, you know, it's like, ooh, you know, what should we do? What should we try? What do we want to bring in, upgrade, you know, start with? You know, do you go for broke and just think you're going to like something? Do you piecemeal it? And initially, I was kind of like leaning towards Stavilla sockets. Then I got this like stupid good deal on like a door set. It's metric, sadly, but it gets a lot of use. And I was like, man, I kind of like those. And then with the Hazets, this happened, right? I kind of wanted to try it, and this was my gateway. This one is used a lot. It's the only one. I don't want to get into the negatives because they're limited to one side. I'll try to remember to come back to that. But let's just say these two items tie in quite nicely with this entire video. So this was done on Black Friday. There are kits, there are sets, there's probably better ways to do this. I'm thrifty. Some people may call it cheap. All right. And I think things through. I take the time. I sit there, you know, I make my free time by basically not going to sleep. Painstakingly, I pull all the prices. I grab the socket standalone part numbers, add the stuff up, look at sales, monitor sales, get a feel for sales. And then to be really thrifty, I stack everything with Black Friday or some other ridiculous promotion. And it was kind of one of those deals. If this ever would have jumped up for me, you know, sort of on tool of the day, or, you know, like some crazy factory promotion type of a thing, probably would have cashed in at that point. But it didn't, and so we did this. What exactly? If you're new here, timestamps and links down below. Also, Alpha Gloves. I haven't plugged those in a while. Discount code of Lone Star saves you 20. I don't see jack from that. But before we jump in, I've got to turn around here and grab. Hopefully it's all intact. Oh no, we've lost. There it is. All right. Anytime you place an order from KC Tool, even if it's on Black Friday and you spent $2 on tools and paid triple that in freight, you get a bit of thanks. Currently, they are shipping as a number 2 Phillips from Vera. And if you hit 75, you get free freight. I always advocate to do that. And if you hit 100, you don't get the German Tool sticker pack anymore, but you do get mystery stickers. I've kept these two off to the side. We're gonna jump into them and see what we got. I do, and we kind of alluded to it, have my master set right here. And we didn't spend a lot of time on this last time, but we're going to this time. I never think these videos will be long, and I think like, well, you know, this might be. I don't really think this one will, but I've said that many times. I've been wrong, much to the amuse of veteran viewers of the channel. This little gem right here, let's just talk about it. This is the checklist, and I actually use this because it's the master set. So you're sitting here scoring at home, and you're like, oh, wow, yeah, first row check. When you see the indicators underneath, that is me saying, I've got dupes, duplicates. I need to trade. I need to do something. We're philo rich, right? 1 ballastal, 3 philos. Right here, we are missing, ironically, Hazet. Otherwise, I would throw this down for you, and it would be a really cool aesthetic for a thumbnail or something. We are missing Knipex. We come in here, we are missing KC Tool. Everything else, we're pretty well set. I'm sorry, we're missing Vera as well. The strongest contenders for dupes are Philo and Stavilla. So, make of that what you will. I'm interested in what you've picked up. Again, some of you might get super lucky and like your first sticker is Hazet and then Knipex and then KC Tool and then Vera. Alright. Others of you might be like, man, I have the exact same thing. I get like Philo every other package. What's the deal? I don't know if they stagger this out, like if they just print a sheet that has every sticker and it's at random and this is just the way the cards fell to me. I don't know if they explicitly, you know, make some of the brands harder to come by. I wouldn't think so. This is just kind of like a neat little trinket type of a deal. And also, the smoking gun in the room, if KC Tool is trying to make this a nightmare to complete a set, as you often see with trading cards, why would they take their own sticker and make it so elusive? Like, you look at all these stickers that we've gotten, and we don't have KC Tool. You tell me. But I want to go ahead and take the time here with you to crack these two open. In supreme irony, we would get Philo and Stavilla. Okay, there's a Stabila. So this will be dupe number 1 of Stabila. And then right here, I'm going to crack this open. Again, I do the timestamps. If you don't care about this, or if this is all you care about, you can jump around. This is looking Philo. It is Philo. What do you know? So, black and yellow, if that was our color scheme here, the theme of this video, we'd be home free, but alas, it's not. And subsequently, we got duplicates on both. Don't fall. Oh boy. You have no idea the dangers we were just exposed to there. I've got this set. I'm going to get that out of my way. Wouldn't have been anything catastrophic up here, although we did nearly lose the seasonal flyer, which is now irrelevant. But there was something about to crush my foot, kind of nestled between the tripod and my toes, and set that off to the side. So, business end out of the way, you know the drill. Bit of thanks, free shipping, stickers, and I'll try to incorporate that every time now, since we are getting closer to the set being completed. You can watch as we either triumphantly complete the mystery sticker set, or we relish in a sea of Philo stickers. So who knows, some of you might be like, all I get is Hazet. And maybe we can set up some trade networks or something, you know, maybe the KC Tool can build like a sub forum where people swap stickers, who knows. But what you're probably most interested in is where all of this is going. And it's honestly what I'm most interested in. I don't know how. I guess work primarily is how I don't get to this stuff until middle of March, late March, when it's Black Friday. To my credit, some of this stuff came in multiple shipments. A lot of it was in stock. I usually place my orders that way. Veteran purchasers of KC Tool, If you've got 6 items you want and 5 of them are in stock and you have other items you want, you can kind of tier your orders, you know, especially if you're hitting that $100 mark. You get 2 mystery stickers instead of 1. But main thing, you just get the tools that are in stock sooner, right? No hoops to jump through or anything. So what I'm going to do is turn around and throw this down. Not the most beautiful thing, little KC toolbox. So many great things that come in boxes this size. I use this as a divider. This right here, the honey hole, that was the main shipment. These were the auxiliary pieces, all right? And, before we jump into that, I'm going to take this little half-inch drive, half-inch 12-point off to the side and throw this down. You think, what's that? It's clearly 6 points, so is it just half-inch drive 6-point? No, this is where we're going to just go ahead and come back to my negative, and it's about the only negative I have. This, if you could see it, is a 900-13, and you're thinking like, oh, 13 millimeter. That makes sense. You compare to 13 millimeter and a half-inch. Kind of redundant to some degree, but, you know, slightly different than your typical 9/16, 14 you talk about. Here's the deal. This is my guinea pig test socket. This is my 6-point test socket. That's the whole reason this came. I wanted to get a feel for Hazet's 6-point. Did they change anything? Did they take away these 2 lines that I love that fit my hands perfectly? What is the sidewall like on the 6-point? If you note, just, I mean, even from this vantage point, that is considerably different, right? The 6-point and the 12-point, you always hear me talk about the greatness of the 12-point. Grabs A, 12-point fasteners, B, square fasteners, C, gives you double the chance of catching the fastener in tight confines or weird positions, and D, an unsung hero, and why I often go 12-point on swivels, it's a thinner sidewall, meaning you're going to go places the 6-point does not. And that part is kind of a terrible segue into this, but the negative, you're like, well, all you do is sing praises of these. What's the downside? The downside is this, the half-inch drive. And you're thinking like, well, what's the problem, you know, with your half-inch drive, half-inch socket? In terms of their AZ or American dimensions, they only do 12. There are the strangest things that the German tool companies do with American dimensions, SAE, fractional, imperial. They all have a different vernacular. But that is the reason. Like, you'd hear me on Stavilla's 14 series wrenches, you know, the 13s, but a little longer and the different offset on the end. You think, yeah, why don't you have the SAE version of that, man, if you like them so well? They don't make it. Like, there's all these great products that they invest in and do in metric sizes, and then there's just nothing SAE or imperial. To Hazet's credit, they gave us these 12-point. The 12-point, more versatile, but I know a lot of people, especially when you get into half-inch and bigger, they only want 6-point. 6-point would sell. 12-point, sort of higher-end, exotic, maybe aviation-based. Makes sense to go this route as it sort of covers both bases, but if I loved this, if I just, man, this is like, the more I use it, the more I fall in love. It's perfect, and then this sampling here was great. I guess what I want to do, I'm like, I want to get, you know, the half-inch 6-point and the 9/16 6-point, and, you know, just pair them with my favorite half-inch drive ratchet of all time. I can't. They don't make it. I've always wanted to know, like, how, I totally get it. Metric is more prominent, granted, in their home country. Like, if I'm making tools here and what I do, old cars and at work, you know, like old stuff and NEMA, all that type of stuff, it's still SAE, it's still fractional, it's imperial, all right? That's where I'm going to start. If some guy, you know, in Germany or England or Ireland or France or, you know, Russia, wherever, was like, this man's tools are perfect, I want them, get me the metric set. And it's like, I don't make a metric set. You know, I might have plans to, you know, if this takes off, but right now I've got to kind of recoup my tooling and expenses and, you know, hit payroll and, you know, then expand into metric. So it makes sense, but it's also really, really sad for people like me. Now, if you're into late model stuff, you know, if maybe cars aren't even your hobby, it's other things and it's all metric, could be high-end electronics or something, you don't care. But for me, I care. If this turns out to be the greatest socket I've ever used, guess what I want to do? I want to have half inch, 3/8, quarter, maybe 3/4. You know, all the options. I want to have the 12 point. And if I can do that on one side of the company, but not with their other offerings in SAE, it's like, man, that really sucks. It's not just German. I have this issue with Koken sometimes. The Zeal stuff, super stubbies, you know, cool, unique things that might be handy. Metric, your heart's content, whatever you can think of is probably in the catalog. SAE equivalent, probably not. So all those surveys and questionnaires the companies send out to me, guess what I always bag on? Make this in SAE sizes, suckers. Now, who knows? I might be the only guy that buys them, and they might be aware of that. But if you are like me, and you enjoy bringing in, you know, by our standards, exotic tools or imported tools or something, just to try and test and compare, but sometimes you're like, man, I love this just as well as my Bonnies that are absolutely worn out. I want this. Hazet, make me a 6-point and tell people, please help me, because I assure you, behind the scenes, that's what I'm doing. Whether it makes any progress or leads to anything, I can't say, but I'm at least trying, and the more people that try, the more likely it could happen. I'm essentially saying, hey, Hazet, make this in SAE sizes, and I'll throw money at you. So the more people that say that, the more likely the companies are to take note. But this box right here, divided again between the honey hole, sweet spot, and the stragglers. What is it? Well, let's just shower these ratchets with a sprinkling of socketry, shall we? Not the most beautiful thing we've ever laid out, but, you know, cool nonetheless, I think, anyway. And that's what I did on this portion of the Black Friday haul. I just bought a crud ton of sockets. And the reason I did that, again, it was cheaper for me to piecemeal this all together than to get a set. And plus, I had a 13mm already. And that tells you your next gateway, if you haven't already kind of deduced what this is. This is Hazet's 900 series. That's half-inch drive. It's 6-point metric. And I've essentially built this thing out from 10 to 32, skipping the sizes I wanted to skip. And I am stupid excited about it. So I've got some notes here kind of on the prices. This first order that came in super quick, like a week or so after Black Friday, 14, 15, and 16mm. You would be looking right now, current, just literally pulled it off my phone prices, 16, 15. You kind of get to the next price tier from 17 to 22, you're looking at 20, 23 a socket. Oddly enough, and this is why I tell you, always check clearance, sale, tool of the day. The 17 and the 19, which, depending on what you're into, you know, that could be your most used sockets in half-inch drive. They're 31% off, so they're actually 13, 18, and 14, 17, i.e. the two cheapest sockets out of everything we did here. Make it make sense, I just tell you what I know. So again, that 2023 price point covered 21 and 2. The 24 was my next jump. It's also on sale. It's $17.43, so a 24 for less than a 21 and a 22. 27mm, you're looking at $28.65. Coming in now to shipment number 2. This had the 10, 11, 12, 18, and 32. The 10 mil was $13.26. The 11, $15.64. Kind of cool. They like don't skip sizes there. The 12, again, $15.64. 18mm, $18.96, and the biggest one that we brought in, the 32, $28.65. So basically MSRP $16.15 to $28. Covers our price range. And yeah, these are usually in stock. If not, Hazet is historically pretty quick to get stuff. Maybe some oddball sizes they wouldn't. Maybe the American stuff would be in less demand. But you got to realize those are current prices. As of me recording this, you know, you could watch this video in 6 months when it probably releases or something. And it could be a deal where the prices have wildly increased. They could be down. I don't know. I just go with what's current. The other thing you got to remember, I probably paid slightly less on Black Friday. And then with my Black Friday discount, we paid significantly less, which is why we did what we did. Now, what I can tell you and what you've seen me do, I truly do practice what I preach. If you want to do this, don't. try one. Grab a socket. If you just lost a 10, if you lose 10s all the time, bring in a 10 millimeter. If you're like, you know what, it would kind of be nice to have 12-point sockets in my most frequently encountered drive size, you know, 10, 13, 14, 17, 19. Do something practical and see if you like the socket. If you're sitting there and tool of the day is like 65 bucks, don't pay your $15 in freight. Tack on a socket, a bit, something to get the free freight. All right, you save yourself money in the long run. Then when you get that 12-point 13 millimeter socket, you're like, man, this is really nice. I love it. I'm gonna get more. Come in, build out your order. What's in stock? Did you hit your $75 for free shipping? The vast majority of you watching this don't have to go out and buy a 1/2-inch socket set right now. You've got something, right? Whether it's Craftsman that you got when you were a kid, like your first starter set, maybe your first starter set was a gear wrench. Maybe you went in, you know, and like when you turned 17, your mom or uncle or grandparents gave you some like master set from Harbor Freight. You know, Pittsburgh, Quinn, Icon, whatever it might have been at the time. You might just be looking to upgrade. Some of your sockets might be long in the tooth. You might be having issues now. You've gone from your Honda Civic days in high school and college, and now you're into diesel trucks, and you just need a bigger drive size or a thicker, more dependable socket, whatever. It just could be curiosity. You're at a point where you don't have to buy everything at once, and you can piecemeal it together over time. There are socket sets. If you watch coming videos, you'll see me finally complete a socket set that I probably started building out like 4 or 5 years ago, right? Just as it's in stock, as it's available, as the sale is on, I make it happen. Now, let's say I would have had a fire here, you know, and everything's gone and I've got to get it. Yeah, sure, throw down. But if you're just doing this out of curiosity of a potential upgrade, you have the luxury of always falling back on your Craftsman set, of using your gear wrench set, of, you know, continuing to run that one you got when you were 17 or graduated high school, or your homeowner set can get you by. If that's the case, be patient, stretch your savings, and go to town when you're kind of like, hey, you know, this right here was the ticket for me too. And I saved money just building it out piece by piece. Or a tool of the day, you know, if it was 30 bucks, I threw on some more sockets. If it was 59, threw on 2 sockets. And over time, not only do you save money, but you wind up with some really good stuff. The old saying, I've got a sign right above my door walking out of this shop. Aside from Lukenbach, a Super B, and a Dodge Cars and Truck Service, it's a bunch of license plates. They're kind of fake, but you know, it says good things happen over time. If you're practical and thrifty, you can stretch your dollar out, and you can do a lot of this stuff for near the prices you can do for mid-tier or far, far, far more questionable brands. So keep that in mind. Now, this literally is everything I read off to you. I'll probably have it all linked individually in case you're like, hey, I'm going to go buy the 19 and try it. It's my gateway drug. If I like it, boom, I'm getting everything. If I can find a way to like link to just the Hazet 900 series, I'll do that, but it might just be piece by piece with the current price. But right here, it's a 21 mil. I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me open every one of these. If you regret that and you wish, man, I wanted to be there as each bag was unopened for the first time, tell me. I'll adjust in the future. But this is the 21. Absolutely beautiful. You know what? Screw it. Let's just go to the 32. I'll give you bag people one more. This will kind of be the most deviated, right? And what I mean by that is the 32 millimeter fastener size is significantly larger than our 1/2-inch drive size, right? This is where you might consider upping yourself to 3/4 or 1-inch type of things, right? But for the average person, 1/2-inch is probably where you're going to stop with your impacts and ratchets. This is available. So what we've got is a beautiful look at the thick sidewall, the radiused corners again. So we're grabbing not here and going to turn it. We're going to grab here and here on the flat. Keep your fastener intact. Maybe grab a fastener that's rounding a little bit on the corners. It's a great design. The finish out on these, every Hazet socket I've looked at has been immaculate. It's consistent. It's glorious. It's beautiful from a machinist perspective. Not only the machining, but the entire finish out process is amazing. Again, some of you might hate this. Chrome, nickel, it's a glaring difference, right? Would you prefer nickel all the way? Would you prefer chrome all the way? You all have preferences. Some of you might be like, I really don't care if it's a great socket at a good price. It does grow on you, I will admit. Is this the perfect socket for me? The answer is no, and here's why. Hazet, beautifully engraved there, 932, super easy to read. We've got made in Germany. What do I not like about that? This is what I don't like. I do not like storing my sockets down, drive side down. I want to store my sockets like this. When I store my sockets like this, I want all the font to be visible from this vantage point. So I mentioned that with every single brand, regardless of the country of origin, regardless of the price point, cheap, expensive, exotic, junk. That's my personal preference. Some of you, especially if you use like the Hansen trays, this is perfect. It's ideal for you. For me, if I could change anything, it would be that right there. I'd want Hazet 32. Now, some of you might be like, man, I wish the size was here. I get that. That's laser etch. Typically, it's going to wear off. This will not. All right. The engraving or the stamping there, it is very well done. It's going to stay intact, especially kind of tucked away from harm's way, which will be down here when you're trying to get into a cavity or, between brackets or something to access your fastener. So what I'm going to do is open this. You will return and you will see a glorious sight of, I don't know, 20-ish Hazet sockets laid out before you. We'll kind of go through what we think of them to give you the overall aesthetic, and I've got another little bonus for you. So give me 1 second. Through the magic of editing, you'll have a black screen fade, and boom. You ready for the big reveal? You're going to have to wait. But what I want to highlight here, since we did mention my only complaint being sort of like the inverted, by my standards, text and markings, if you're interested in these Hazet half-inch drive sockets and metric is your jam, your shallow 6-point, that's going to be right here, your 900, you're going to have the full gauntlet. You've got we're going to shear the fastener head off, 8mm, no skips all the way to 36. Again, 36, 34, 32, 30, and then consecutively down. Same thing mirrored here with your 12-point. That's going to be the 900Z. You've got full access, 8 all the way to 36mm. When we come in up here, an interesting thing, the deep sockets right there, you do not have the full gauntlet. You're going to have 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So 10 to 19, no skips. 21, 22, 24, 27, 30, and 32. There seems to be no 12-point deep. I guess right there, no? That would be, I guess, their equivalent of a triple square. So anyway, the other thing that I wanted to do for you in this section, if I can find it, is right here. This is always super cool. I love putting this stuff in the videos. This is how Hazet manufactures their sockets. You've essentially got your bar stock, and it's cut to spec. Again, your overall length, roughly what you'd need for all the machining processes. The blank is outside ground to size. Then it is metallurgically heat treated. Your next step, it's going to be sandblasted. In the corner here, this is the cold extrusion. The inside profile is produced, ready the outside profile adjusted. Down here, first picture, number 6, it is going to be mechanically worked, turned, drilled, inner groove milled, knurled, and inscribed. So kind of at that point, you could grab the socket and probably use it. It just wouldn't be quite what you're accustomed to seeing. The next step could be important for you. It's coated, hardened, and tempered. Again, that's going to be your life cycle. All right, here the surface is worked and it is sandblasted yet again. Number 9, you've got the outside surface partially ground, and then here, the final step, it is going to be nickel plated and chrome plated. So very cool to always kind of have a inside look at the manufacturing process. I wish I could get that sort of like more in frame, but my reward for you sitting through that, if you don't care, is this. And I can tell you right now, I do not definitively know how I am going to store these. I'm leaning towards Ernst rails. The thing that would be killer would be to have the Hazet blue or the teal, and that's of course not available. And there is a way that I could make this Hazet teal. I won't go into that yet, but it is something I am considering. The biggest problem right now, aside from the finalized storage, is just what am I going to do? You know, am I going to come in and am I going to get the deep sockets? If we come in, I really, outside of the Ernst rails, I kind of like. I know some people think they're dorky. I kind of dig the MTS friction pegs. Again, same thing, can't get my exact color preference. But two, the way they do half-inch, I want to say it starts at 10, which I'm fine. Granted, you know, if I did ever build out a full set, we'd have 8 and 9 missing. But it goes 10 to 23. That leaves the 24, the 27, the 32. If I did add a 36, all those are off the table. Similarly, on the back side, I would have some gaps when we did the deeps. That's where I kind of come in and the Ernst stuff really shines. Is as much as I love that friction peg, like there would be gaps I could not fill with the Hazet sockets, and it doesn't go quite as small as I want to or as large, despite having the excellent printed names, right? Like that's one of the only systems where you can see that back row and the sizes. However, they're fixed, they're permanent, so I can't come in and, you know, scrub out, you know, the 9 and the 11 and change them. I can't eliminate the 15 and, you know, add in a 27. So you do run into some issues on that front, but my oh my, I can't fit this in the frame. There's what, like 2 sockets you're not even seeing over there. But this was just, I do have a couple in reserve with the really nice metric labels. Thing is, again, not the ideal color, and they're sort of ravaged and paired with, you know, other drive posts and stuff. So this was just the cleanest way to present it to you. If I can set this catalog back down, man, that is nice to see. Again, end to end, you're like, whoa, that is long. Certainly the case. Again, 10 through 19 with no skips. That's essentially going to be these sockets right here. My 10 through 19 ends right above the Napa logo. And then here forward, we've got 21, 24, 7, 32. I'm sorry, 21, 22, 24, 27, 32. Could, in theory, put a 36 now. Some of you metric people might know what I'm talking about, but I recently had some like test stuff brought into work, and one of the fastener sizes, this is all metric, and ironically I had just brought relatively recently 1/4 and 3/8 metric sockets out there. Totally not for this. That was mainly for like the forklift and like modern vehicles, you know, that I have to service. But this test thing has massive fasteners for transport. And I tell you what, the first time it was a socket cap screw, and I'm like, that is absolutely dwarfing the biggest L key I had, which was a 10 mil. I don't know what it was, the way I took those off. I just used Cobras. You know, they're only for transport. I'm not going to use them again for anything important, so it required, I don't know what they're torquing those down to, but I had to get the 12 inchers out to break that free. The next one that I came in, I figured it'd be the same thing, you know, and I was thinking like, dadgum, you know, Matt guy didn't show up. I was going to get a one-off socket from him. It turns out it had standard bolts, you know, just a 6-point head on it. And so I'm sitting there like, okay, wonder what size this is. And of course, I have nothing half-inch metric at work. I don't have anything bigger than like 19 millimeter at work. That's absolutely not 19 millimeter. I don't know what this translates over to, but you know, I just kind of thought like, what would I do if I was shipping this? And it was 3/4 bolts, which is 1 1/8. I grabbed it, not even close to fitting. So I came in and I'm like, well, screw it, you know, let me just go to the biggest thing I've got, which is 1 1/4. And that was kind of would catch, but it was a little too big. So what I did is I sized down. I had to go hunt for it because there's no like official storage slot for an 1 3/16. But that's what fit. It fit pretty well. Luckily they were 12-point, which probably helped me out a lot. What would be like the metric equivalent to that, and is it common? Because I'm thinking off the top of my head it would be like a 30-ish. Apparently, like if I run with this stuff, I'm gonna need like a jumbo freaking, I'll probably, honestly, I might be a cheap jerk and just get the Pittsburgh bit sockets. I figure it's like a 12 or 14, maybe a 17. I've never seen a metric one that big in my life. Okay, for the hex profile. But then on the socket, I kind of think where 1 3/16 crosses over is like somewhere in that like 30-ish range, but I don't know how much leeway I have. So if you know, if you do big size stuff at work and you're like, oh yeah, if the 1 3/16 fit, you need a 31, you know. I might have trouble finding that. I don't know. Again, I don't dabble in metric that large. So yeah, but 1 3/16 did technically get the job done. My wrench even fit too, because the way they do it, there's like a foot, you know, like a absurdly long bolt that's seemingly like Loctite it in as well. I know, because I had to get a giant breaker bar, and then the last one I couldn't get it all, and I had to wind up using an impact. But coming in, it's absurdly long, and you've got all this thread sticking out, and then you've got the nut, and then you've got like this, probably like a 8-pound piece of cast iron foot or something, and then you've got the fastener head here. So it's like the nut and the fastener head sandwich around this foot, if you will. And the 1 3/16 precision torque fit on the nut, and then I just came in and went to town, and the 1 3/16 protos I'd just taken out there grabbed it. So broke 3 of them loose, and then the other one, again, I had to go hunt for it because the 1 3/16 size is the one they don't feature. And so I had to go, like, what drawer did I put that in? Because I've never needed it prior to that. So if you know the metric crossover there, let me know, because if I wind up sticking with this or bringing them in regularly, I'm going to need possibly that, and possibly 12, 14, 17, you know, X profile stuff. So yeah, that is that. I do have a Hazet 24 mil 6 points at work. It was for a filter canister, and that's the only, like, you know, fancy socket there. It's not, you know, like proto or something, but good lord, that is cool to see, especially when they're clean and, you know, not like covered in paint or grease or something. Absolutely beautiful sockets. Again, we've kind of come full circle here. This, in my case, was the gateway drug. You might be different. You might see these sockets and be like, oh, you know, I just shattered my 27. I want to try something and see if it'll last. That is a glorious looking socket. And again, for me, and you could be totally different, but like, this just fits. One of the problems with half-inch drive stuff, right, is the tooth count, right? You usually don't have something super fine. You might have like 36, 24, just war horses, don't ever break. The finer tooth, very advantageous, quicker work. But what happens when either there's sludge here, or just like you need to kind of get the bolt going, you can turn this by hand. It's almost like a built-in spinner. And for me, the placement here is just perfect. A lot of times you'll see the ribbing here, or the knurling like way up at the top. While that's great in hand, especially, there are times like I finger tighten things, like literally this would not be on the socket, and I either need to like get something run in, and then I just want to torque the snot out of it, or I need to kind of try to get my hand in there and see if it's broken free, if I can turn it easier. You know, like if I have one tooth, you know, if I'm like, okay, hey, if I can just, you know, like shimmy that 8 or 10 turns and then rip the drive tool off, kind of like that, and then come in here and turn this, that might be advantageous and quicker. These, for me, with what I prefer and my hand size, that is like incredible. And it's one of those things, you know, like I would never have even known that if we wouldn't bring in tools from across the globe to check out. So obviously it worked out well, you know, a little gateway man. And then I wanted to, again, I don't tell you this stuff because I try to make your life difficult. I try to help you. It's what I genuinely do myself, because I deduce that it's the best thing to do. I knew I loved this, but I wanted to make sure I liked the 6 points. So the 13 here, it was the guinea pig. I brought it in. It checked all the boxes, matched up with that as I thought it would, but I wanted to make sure, because that's still a big investment, even waiting, some of them being on sales and a Black Friday. To me, and by my standards, this is still a big investment. So I know some people, you know, they like Snap-on man shows up and it's like, I'll take 2 sets or give me everything. You know, like, I sort of like to research and move slowly and save money and time and be confident, like, do I really want this versus just going proto or right? You know, what direction do I want to go? And so this is what I settled on. I'm very happy with it. It makes perfect sense, being as big a fan as I am of the Hazet 1/2-inch drive ratchet, the 916 HP in this case. We've got like the full gauntlet of them. Having sockets to pair just makes sense, and that's exactly what we did here, thanks to the KC Tool Black Friday sale. So, man, like 5-6 years ago when we started doing this stuff, kind of checking out the German tools, never would have thought, like, at the time, I was like, good lord, Hazet's expensive. Now, some of their stuff's super, super affordable, a lot of it not. I never would have thought, like, it would come to this, but here we are, and I gotta tell you, you know, it's, pretty happy. So ultimately I've got to figure out now, like, final storage, all that stuff, but that's the fun, easy stuff. This was sort of the good things happen over time, you know, and in this case it was sort of a all at once, you know, with a big sale, but it was researched ahead of time. So, well, that's it. That's all I've got for you. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned a little something. This is now your time to shine. In the comments section, I want to know not just what you think of the Hazet sockets or the 916 HP, or, you know, if you were the same way, that ratchet sold you on Hazet and you jumped into some of this stuff. If you use Hazet sockets, what are you using them on? How do they hold up long-term over time? What do you compare them to? Did you used to be a Stavilla person and then you got the Hazet? You're like, man, I love these a lot better, or the price was better, or do you bring piece or two in as you need it? You're like, man, I really love those, but the price is absurd. I'm not doing a full set. Or is it like, you know, hey, as my other stuff breaks, I'll just slowly replace it with Hazet and then eventually have, you know, my dream team? Is this a deal where you wouldn't touch these and you'd go with brand X, Y, or Z? Whatever it may be, let me know. Again, biggest thing to me that I can't answer is how these hold up over time, right? Like, proto at work, right at work, I know certain things, you know, like the Bonnie stuff that's not even, I know, like, okay, hey, that's here from 1960, must be good. This stuff is relatively new to me, you know, the last, you know, 6, 7, 8 years, so it's been good, but, you know, I kind of, something this high end, it's like, this should be like a lifetime deal outside of like throwing this on an impact all the time, right? So if I'm, you know, freed up and gone from this world, this is something my nephew should grab. They should be in good condition and he should be able to use them. So that's where you come in with your first-hand experience. But with that said, hope you enjoyed, hope you had a good time. LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all three at Lone Star Mopars. If you have not subscribed, I encourage you to do so. If you do that, you ring the bell, you jump your charger across the creek. YouTube just might notify you. We got new videos currently every Wednesday and Saturday. They may have to change if I stay this busy. Just Saturday only, but regardless, whatever it may be, if you do all that jazz, you should get notified. If you haven't subscribed, I encourage you to do so. I'm still, as of recording this, waiting to hit 10K so I can release a freaking massive bottleneck of videos resulting from a 10K Snap-on stuff. And it's getting really old saying that. It's like really, really crippling my ability to release some other non-Snap-on videos because I foolishly threw some of the Snap-on stuff in for comparison, as I'm prone to do. But that aside, I hope you enjoyed. Hope I catch you back here for more from the shop. I hope you have yourself a fantastic week.